Welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to a new cycle on global television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that global television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Now the news in full. Vice President Kashim Shettima has visited Maiduguri to condole with the military and families of soldiers killed in the Beni Sheikh attack, including Brigadier General Hosseini Brahima. He assured that the federal government remains fully committed to supporting the armed forces, strengthening ongoing operations and restoring lasting security in the region. Shettima also conveyed the condolences of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, describing the fallen officers as heroes who paid the ultimate price in the service to the nation. The federal government has directed the immediate withdrawal and deactivation of Nigerian passports held by individuals who have formally renounced their citizenship as part of efforts to protect the integrity of the country's identity system. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo described the directive affects only those whose reunification have been officially approved, stressing that such persons can no longer legally hold Nigerian travel documents. He explained that the move is backed by Section 29 of the 1999 Constitution, noting that once citizenship is renounced, all associated rights and privileges, including passport ownership, automatically cease. Tunji-Ojo added that the decision is part of ongoing passports and immigration reforms aimed at closing loopholes, strengthening national security and ensuring that only recognized citizens retain access to Nigerian sovereign documents. Over now to the Federal High Court in Abuja has slammed a 10-year jail term on a former senatorial candidate in Borno State for aiding terrorism by supplying fuel to Boko Haram fighters. Agbomofuegbe tells us more.
Justice Peter Odo Lifu delivered the judgment convicting Honorable Babagana Habib on a one-count charge of aiding and abetting terrorism filed by the federal government. Now, the court heard that the convict, a fuel dealer based in Maiduguri, admitted to selling petroleum products to insurgents operating in the northeast. He attempted to shift responsibility to his station attendant, but the court held him accountable for the transactions linked to the terrorist operations. During proceedings, the defendant pleaded for leniency, citing his family responsibilities and prolonged detention spanning over a decade.
About 508 cases. Of these 508, we were able to secure 386 convictions, 8 discharges, 2 acquittals, and 112 adjourned to the next session or phase. Don't forget that this is the 9th phase. The 10th phase will come up between the 15th and the 18th of June by God's special grace.
Prosecuting counsel David Kaswe opposed the plea, arguing that the fuel supplies enabled deadly attacks leading to the loss of lives and widespread displacement. In his ruling, Justice Lifu noted that there was no evidence linking the convict to active membership or combat training with the terrorist group, but affirmed that providing fuel constituted material support for terrorism. The court acknowledged that the defendant had already spent over 10 years in custody, a claim not disputed by the prosecution. Justice Lifu subsequently sentenced him to 10 years imprisonment, ordering that the term take effect from the date of his arrest.
The type of punishment that the judges dished out to send clear signal to people involved in terrorism and terrorism financing that there is no space for them here in Nigeria. We cannot stop them from going elsewhere, but as far as the Nigerian space is concerned, there is no space. We will not be able to accommodate them.
The court further directed his immediate release upon completion of formalities, paving the way for rehabilitation.
The leadership crisis rocking the African Democratic Congress has taken a legal turn as the fraction led by David Mark heads to the Federal High Court. Moving on now, challenging actions by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Again, Uyi Agbomofoigbe tells us more.
INEC had on April 1st removed the names of David Mark as National Chairman and Rauf Aregbesola as National Secretary from its official portal, escalating tensions within the party's leadership structure. In response, the Mark-led faction is seeking court's order to nullify INEC's decision, compel the electoral body to restore the party's National Working Committee records, and restrain it from recognizing any parallel leadership pending the determination of the suit. The application filed before Justice Emeka Nweti also challenges INEC's refusal to monitor the party's congresses and convention, describing the move as a disruption capable of creating a leadership vacuum within the ADC. The legal action follows a March 12 ruling by the Court of Appeal, which directed parties to maintain the status quo, with the Mark faction insisting that the electoral body misinterpreted the order and acted in a manner that undermines the party's established leadership.
Leadership tussle in African Democratic Congress, ADC. And we are all here. We're not fighting anymore. We want court to decide who actually is the authentic leader of the party. That is all.
Counsel to Mark is also pushing for an accelerated hearing, citing the wider implication of the crisis on the party's administration, political participation, and democratic governance, warning that prolonged uncertainty could deepen internal division and fuel conflicting claims within the party.
Any matter involving internal affairs of the political party shall be a cost of not less than 10 million shall be awarded against such person. We have urged the court to award a cost of not less than 50 million in favor of my own client, the distinguished Senator David Mark, and against the plaintiff as deterrent for filing such a frivolous action.
With the battle now before the court, the fate of the party's leadership hangs in the balance as all eyes turn to the judiciary to restore clarity, uphold due process, and prevent a deepening crisis within the African Democratic Congress.
The leadership crisis rocking the African Democratic Congress has taken a legal turn as the fraction led by David Mark heads to the Federal High Court in Abuja challenging actions by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Over now to Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says the nation has reached a decisive moment where bold reforms and responsible governance must take center stage. He stated this in Owerri at the 15th Emeka Anyokun Lecture Series on Good Governance, where he threw his weight behind the reform agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Our correspondent, Amarachi Ibe, tells us more.
Nigeria stands at a defining crossroad, grappling with economic pressures and governance challenges that demand urgent and decisive action. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says the moment calls for courageous leadership and a firm commitment to national renewal. Speaking as chief host at the lecture in Owerri, themed "The Imperative of Good Governance in Nigeria," The governor emphasized that leadership must be above personal interest and focus on sustainable development and collective good.
Nigeria is at a pivotal moment. The decisions we make now will determine what kind of country we leave to the next generation. That is why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has shown the courage to make the hard decisions. He has chosen accountability, he has chosen transparency, he has chosen structural reform, he has chosen the common good over personal interests. That is the path we must continue to follow.
Governor Zodimo also paid glowing tribute to elder statesman Emeka Anyaoku, describing him as a symbol of integrity, discipline, and exemplary leadership. He recalled Anyaoku's distinguished service as Secretary General of the Commonwealth, highlighting his contributions to democratic growth, election oversight, and global peace building.
Chief Anyaoku, you are the diplomat's diplomat. You are the elder statesman whose wisdom Nigeria and Africa still urgently need. And it is fitting that this lecture series bears your name.
Responding, Emeka Anyaoku expressed appreciation to Imo State government for hosting the lecture, noting that the initiative is aimed at instilling the values of good governance, integrity, and service in younger generations.
My first words must be to thank His Excellency Senator Hope Uzodimma for the honor of hosting this year's Emeka Anyaoku lecture. I readily agreed because of my commitment to youth development and to the development of our country, Nigeria.
Also speaking, chairman of the occasion and former governor of Old Anambra State, Jim Nwobodo, alongside keynote speaker Professor Kate Omealu, stressed the urgent need for leadership built on unity, inclusiveness, and accountability.
Good governance is not a slogan. It is not a campaign promise. It is the architecture of national progress. It is the discipline of and a leadership exercised with integrity, guided by law and anchored in service to the people.
Good governance is a social contract. Leaders must lead with integrity. Citizens must engage with responsibility.
Stakeholders maintain that strengthening institutions and sustaining reform efforts remain critical to navigating Nigeria through this pivotal phase. From Owerri, I'm Marachi Ibe, Global TV News.
In today's digital era, information travels at remarkable speed. A single post, tweet, or video can reach millions of people within seconds. The digital age has expanded the space for expression, but it has also raised important questions about the limits of online freedom. Saadia Yakubu reports.
The internet has created a global platform where voices from all walks of life can be heard, from activists advocating for change to citizens expressing personal views. Social media has become a modern public space for free expression. This development has strengthened democratic engagement, supported social movements, and enabled the rapid sharing of information across borders.
We have freedom of speech in the digital age. We have the right to speak. We have the right to speak using a social media platform. We have the right to speak what we want to speak in accordance with law.
However, it has also brought significant challenges. The spread of misinformation, hate speech, cyberbullying, and online harassment continues to raise concerns about safety and responsibility in the digital space. As a result, governments and technology companies are increasingly faced with the task of balancing freedom of expression with the need to protect users from harm.
Freedom of speech can be classified as being suppressed. But well, a lot of people have been expressing their views on what the government is all about, on political matters and other aspects of life. So we still have freedom of speech. I believe we still have freedom of speech in Nigeria, but we need to do more we need to do more in the sense that we need to do more in making sure that freedom of speech cannot be suppressed.
In digital age, freedom of speech remains a fundamental right, but it comes with responsibility. Users are encouraged to verify information before sharing, think critically, and engage respectfully online. Unregulated content can have far-reaching consequences in a highly connected world. The future of online communication will depend not only on regulations and platform policies, but also on the conduct of users themselves. Sadia Kubu, Global TV News.
You are watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. News Cycle continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Glad you could join us. As we move into Saturday, the Harmattan dust continues to sweep across the far north, slightly tightening its grip on cities like Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, and Kano State, bringing with noticeable dry and hazy conditions across the rest of the country. Clouds building, shifting, and spreading with breaks of sunshine, but the calm wouldn't last for long, as morning rains are expected to parts of Cross River and Akwa Ibom State. Then as we head into the afternoon and evening hours, the atmosphere becomes more unsettled. Thunderstorms are expected to develop and push through parts of southeast, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, parts of Delta, Bayelsa, and River State, extending to parts of Ogun and Benue State. And that's the forecast for Saturday. Be weather aware. I am Akami Samara.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is News Cycle on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, Nigeria's aviation sector is set for a strategic overhaul as the federal government pushes reforms aimed at safety, growth, and global competitiveness. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has unveiled a 5-point agenda to drive the sector forward in 2026. Anita Patrick tells us more.
All right. At the first safe take, at the first quarter stakeholders engagement on presidential priorities and ministerial deliverables, the Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo outlined a reform-driven roadmap aligned with the federal government's renewed hope agenda. He emphasized that aviation remains a key driver of economic growth, job creation, and national integration. He added that top on the agenda is strict compliance with global aviation regulations, with a focus on improving Nigeria's safety ratings in line with international standards.
Within this framework, the aviation sector stands as a vital driver of economic growth, job creation, and national integration. To actualize this vision, the ministry has articulated a 5-point agenda.
The minister also highlighted plans to strengthen local airlines, ensuring they meet global benchmarks while receiving necessary support to thrive. He added that infrastructure development is another priority, with renewed efforts to upgrade airports, modernize air traffic systems, and enhance service delivery across the country. A major highlight is the collaboration with global aviation giant Boeing to facilitate aircraft leasing, aimed at supporting local operators and expanding fleet capacity.
I am pleased to state that the implementation of this agenda has already yielded significant benefits. Notably, it facilitated collaboration between the ministry and Boeing Company for aircraft leasing to support the sector. This agenda has provided clear strategic direction, aligned aviation activities with national development goals, and fostered stronger industry-wide collaboration and partnerships.
The minister says achieving these goals will require strong collaboration among stakeholders, transparency, and sustained commitment. With renewed focus on safety, infrastructure, and strategic partnerships, Festus Keyamo says Nigeria's aviation sector is on course for transformation into a globally competitive industry. Anie Patrick, Global TV News.
Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited remitted 1.804 trillion naira to the federal account in February 2026, marking a sharp increase from the 726 billion recorded in January. The company also reported total revenue of 2.68 trillion naira and improved profitability, reflecting stronger financial and operational performance. Officials say recent reforms and stricter remittance policies are boosting transparency and accountability in the oil and gas sector. Moving on to the African Development Bank has approved a $200 million loan to Nigeria to support a nationwide fabric optic expansion and digital skills initiative aimed at boosting job creation and economic growth. The project, known as DVIBE, will deploy 90,000 kilometers of fiber infrastructure to connect all 774 local government areas, while expanding broadband access to schools, hospitals, rural communities, and commercial centers across the country. The bank says the program, to be executed through a public-private partnership, could generate up to 2.8 million jobs and raise broadband penetration to about 70% by 2030. Over now to the foreign scene now. Ismail Omar Guelleh has secured a sixth term in office with 97.8% on the vote in an election boycotted by major opposition parties. The result extends his 27-year rule following constitutional changes that removed age limits for candidates. While authorities highlighted stability under his leadership, critics argue the political environment remains restricted and lacks credible competition. United States and Iranian officials have held separate high-level meetings with Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif ahead of planned peace negotiations as diplomatic efforts intensify to resolve the ongoing Middle East conflict. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance met with Sharif alongside envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, while Iran's delegation led by Mohammad Bahar Ghalibaf expressed cautious optimism but maintained distrust towards Washington. Despite ongoing engagements, key issues remain unresolved, including ceasefire conditions and regional tensions, with Iran warning that talks could collapse if its demands are not met. In sports news now, Arsenal have suffered a 2-1 home defeat to Bournemouth, dealing a significant blow to their Premier League title ambitions. Despite levelling through Victor Carreras of defensive lapses, allowed Bournemouth to regain the lead and secure all 3 points. And the result hands Manchester City renewed momentum in the title race, with the gap potentially closing in the coming fixtures. Tennis world number Jannik Sinner defeated Alexander Zverev in a straight sets to reach the Monte Carlo Masters final for the first time in his career. The win continues his dominant run his season, having reached multiple finals across major tournaments. Sinner will face either Carlos Alcaraz or Valentin Barat in what could be a decisive clash for the world number 1 ranking. Over now to sports football now. Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) has announced a 36-player squad for the Flamingos ahead of their second-round qualifying fixture for the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Morocco. Newly appointed head coach Hakeem Basari has selected 5 goalkeepers, 10 defenders, 13 midfielders, and 8 forwards as preparations begin for the crucial tie against either Niger Republic or Guinea. The two nations will meet in the first round, with the winner advancing to face Nigeria. The eventual winner will then host Nigeria in the first leg between May 22nd and 24th, before the Flamingos welcome their opponents for the return leg on May 30th. And that's it on News Cycle. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365. and Star Times channel 276. Now kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @GlobalTVNG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching.